Finland's military is custom-made to repel a Russian invasion. Finland has a modern, lethal military and a history of fighting Russia. So, how will Finland joining NATO change Russia's calculus? Hello friends, Wes O'Donnell here, veteran of the US Army and the US Air Force, and I speak Russian because mudro izuchat protivnika. Finland officially joined the NATO alliance on April 4th, 2023, becoming NATO's 31st member state. Finland will benefit from NATO's collective defense clause, as well as a deep intelligence sharing that takes place between alliance members. But it's a two-way street. NATO will benefit from Finland's deep experience with cold weather operations. So, how strong is Finland's military? Well, the Finnish military doctrine is based on the concept of total defense, meaning that all sectors of the government and the economy are involved in territorial defense planning. Finland's military, officially known as the Finnish Defense Forces, or FDF, is comprised of the Finnish Army, the Finnish Navy, and the Finnish Air Force. In wartime, the Finnish Border Guard, which is its own military unit in peacetime, becomes part of the Finnish Defense Forces as well. Their proximity to Russia and their history of border disputes with the Soviet Union has played a big role in how Finland developed its military over the years. As a result, Finland's military is a bespoke creation, tailor-made to repel a Russian invasion. Finnish doctrine is based on the concepts of attrition to delay, repel to defeat, and protection of key vital areas. The enemy is worn down from the border onwards, and the invasion force is stopped before it captures population centers or infrastructure. On the sea border, the invasion is stopped on the coast. Finland is one of the few European countries to have kept a conscription program despite decades of relative peace. This is due primarily to the Russian threat to Finland's east. According to Reuters, Finland trains nearly 21,000 new conscripts every year, who then become part of its wartime reserve of 280,000 soldiers. Of those, some 10,000 a year are called up rotationally to refresher courses. The Finnish army maintains enough firearms, assault rifles, machine guns, grenade launchers, and anti-tank weapons for the entire reserve, but also all necessary gear for fighting in harsh winter conditions, plus night vision systems and gas masks. Approximately 1,904,000 Finns aged 17 to 60 are eligible for service in case of need. It's worth mentioning that the deadliest sniper in world history was a Finnish soldier named Simo Häyhä, who had at least 505 confirmed kills during the Winter War of 1939 to 1940 against the Soviets. If the war in Ukraine has taught us anything, artillery and armored vehicles are still relevant in modern warfare. Finland has 180 modern Leopard 2A6 and 2A4 tanks, as well as 90 self-propelled artillery, 500 towed artillery, and 60 MLRS rocket artillery. Finland has much more of each, but these numbers represent assets that are fully mission capable right now. Finland claims to have Western Europe's strongest artillery, which includes Israeli-made ELTA counter-battery radar systems to respond to Russian artillery. Finland's infrastructure is particularly well-suited to move soldiers and war machines around the country, but especially to the east toward Russia if needed. Finland has 454,000 kilometers, about 300,000 miles, of hard roadway coverage, and nearly 6,000 kilometers of rail lines. They also have 148 usable airports. Speaking of airports, the Finnish Air Force is well trained and equipped with the latest in US technology. Finland has a fleet of 61 FA-18 Hornet fighter jets. These jets will be replaced by 64 Lockheed Martin F-35A Lightnings by 2026. In addition, Finland has a number of military transport aircraft, helicopters, and trainers. The Finnish Navy is acquiring 3 new multi-role corvettes for surface combat, which will be brought online by 2029. Besides that, Finland has 4 command vessels, 5 mine layers, 8 missile craft, 3 mine countermeasure vehicles, 13 mine sweepers, and numerous smaller landing craft. Now that Finland is part of NATO, I would expect to see additional heavy investment in Finland's navy in the coming decades to counter Russian Arctic ambitions. After all, the Nordic countries are well positioned to blunt Putin's northern scramble, and Finland's navy will play a big role. Even before joining NATO, Finland participated in a lot of bilateral and multilateral military exercises with the United States, the EU, and NATO allies. These exercises included Aurora, Cold Response, Trident Jupiter, Northern Coast, Hammer 22, and Baltrips. Finland first joined NATO's Partnership for Peace program in 1994, and even before officially joining the alliance, Finland was designated a NATO Enhanced Opportunities Partner, NATO's highest-tiered partnership status. These exercises do more than just piss Russia off. They are essential to developing cohesive joint fire operations between different nations whose militaries might be structured differently. This means that Finland is already well-versed in NATO operating procedures. This reduces the learning curve that many new NATO members experience. After witnessing the Russian military struggle in Ukraine, it's entirely likely that Finland could have held its own against any Russian invasion without NATO's help. And Putin cannot be happy right now. All of Russia's geopolitical calculations, diplomacy, military modernization, and wars since 1948 have been performed under the assumption that their massive land border with Finland is secure and not worth devoting resources to. Because of the way a nation's territorial waters extend out from its shores, the Baltic Sea is now going to become a NATO-lake. This means any Russian submarines launching from Leningrad Naval Base would be easily tracked by NATO, as Finland would be obligated to share intelligence with the alliance. As it stands now, Russian submarines sail outside the territorial waters of Estonia, Latvia, and Lithuania to the Danish Straits to reach the Atlantic. But with Finland and NATO, it would be impossible for Russia to sail from its base without crossing into NATO waters. Unless Russia has a real-life Red October, Russian subs can no longer hide from NATO. Also, Russia's Kola Peninsula represents a particular problem for Russia. Over the past decade, Putin has spent a significant amount of money and resources building up the infrastructure for nuclear weapons storage across the Kola Peninsula. Satellite imagery from the Barents Observer shows a massive Russian investment in nuclear infrastructure across 4 separate areas. He did this under the 60-year-old assumption that his border with Finland was secure. Some of these nuclear installations are mere kilometers from the Finnish border. Worse for Russia, there's only one road and one rail line that connects the peninsula with Moscow. As you can see, Russia's sole road parallels the massive Finnish border. In any future conflict, it wouldn't take much for NATO air power, or even special forces, to disrupt or disable this lifeline. What's more, this region is also home to the bulk of Russia's strategic nuclear bomber fleet. These aircraft and their bases are now within easy range of NATO strikes out of Finland. But the biggest win here is one of doctrine. In Ukraine, we've seen what a Western-trained Ukrainian fighting force has been able to do against a much larger Soviet-Russian force structure, albeit one plagued with anachronistic elements. The information dominance doctrine, combined arms experience, and force integration of Western militaries have proven themselves against the World War I era tactics of the Russian Federation. Finland's military, was designed to fight against Russia. The country's ascension to NATO makes the alliance a more formidable deterrence to future Russian aggression. And that helps Ukraine and the United States. Okay, that's it, folks. Subscribe if you're not. It really helps the channel grow. And as always, glory to Ukraine, glory to the heroes. Slava Ukraini.